some of these headlines that I have that I see, especially yesterday when it was widely reported that the war games were going to be taking place with Syria, Russia, China, and Iran, all by the Syrian coast. 90,000 troops, 1,000 tanks, 400 aircraft, and there's conflicting reports. Syria denies, Israel confirms, and I've had a lot of friends over the past several days, and last night I talked to a couple of friends who had served in our armed forces, and they were saying this looks like the seeding of World War III here. And he's our regular Monday guest, but Stephen Yates is the best when discussing foreign policy and anything of this nature. He's with the D.C. International Advisory, and he's on the line with us now. Stephen, thanks so much for joining us for twice in 1 week. I appreciate it.
More than happy to do so.
Should people, when they see these headlines, be completely, for the lack of a more eloquent phrase, freaked out? Because we're talking about huge numbers of a huge buildup here for these war games. And then I hear various reports, they deny that they're going on, but we do know that Chinese warships were allowed by Egypt to enter the Suez Canal in preparation for it. What exactly is happening, and how nervous should we be?
Well, I think we should be alarmed. Whether we're at a point where we need to freak out is another person's judgment, I guess. But clearly, I think the upshot of it is this is what weakness abroad looks like. People who want to say that threats are just going away because we've decided to play nice with the world and withdraw and conduct a revolution at home, this is what happens. Russia exerts its influence. China expands its sphere. And basically, people who seek to oppose our interests abroad and those of our allies feel emboldened. There's a degree to which this war game is a copycat. We had a joint military exercise in Jordan last month, and so this is a way for the other side of the strategic ledger to show, hey, we have friends and capabilities too. But there are people crossing clear thresholds here that should be of serious concern. And I just don't know of anybody that believes that the Obama administration is really taking seriously what our force posture and what our intelligence and alliance postures need to be to deal with this if it becomes more real.
Well, and we've already heard the reports of the standoff, the physical standoff between Vladimir Putin and Barack Obama in the hallway at the G20. And then, of course, this becomes more and more reported. It seems as though it's like the Cold War, but without the veneer of a proxy. Do you get that same sense?
Yeah, and this is actually an increasingly held view. I mean, I had conversations with friends in the media and outside the media yesterday where the most frequent question is, are we returning to the Cold War? Does this run the risk of a broader proxy war? And I think that the answer is, number one, while people don't want to talk about the Cold War, we don't really get to choose whether Russia decides that its competition with the United States is over. They do. They're behaving as if the competition is on, and they seem to know power much better than our leadership does. Second, on proxy war, I mean, really the Iraq War was a decades-long proxy war with Iran, Russian, and Chinese enablement. I mean, there were Chinese munitions found nearby American dead soldiers in Iraq. I mean, so the axis of do no good, borderline evil has been active for some time, and there is a risk that this standoff with Syria becomes a broader regional conflict, and there are proxies involved in this fight.
So, and it would essentially be us. I mean, I guess there's no good side to war. There's no good side to this. But I guess if I wanted to be uber positive, is that, well, for the first time, we're just fighting China and Russia outright.
Right. Well, it does force a degree of full disclosure. Although our diplomats and our governments, bureaucrats, establishment politicians, etc., they're very, very good at pretending as if it's not all bad. I mean, remember, the warming with China occurred at the height of the great proletariat cultural revolution in China, where there's mass murder of their own citizens. Mm-hmm. And so when our government wants to move in a direction to hide something under a big bushel basket, they can sometimes get away with it. Well,
and all of this, of course, all of them coming to the Syrian border and the reports that I've heard where it's conflicting, and so it seems as though, by all accounts, except from Syria themselves, that this is confirmed and this huge exercise is going to be taking place.
Well, until it happens, it's just talk. But these things don't just happen overnight. They have to be planned for a long time. And part of the point of having a joint exercise is to show an ability to exercise command and control together, to bring in a diversity of capabilities, basically showing that no one is standing alone, that they're capable of joint action. That just isn't an instantaneous thing. But until they conduct the exercise, it's just talk. But the talk has consequences. I mean, really, that's why I think that the underlying narrative really is, this is a consequence of American weakness. From the apology tour to the withdrawals, all of which may have had their rationales in some people's minds, what you can't choose is how bad guys perceive it and what they seek to take advantage of. And right now, what the signal is the Americans don't have the will to shape events in this region. Our allies increasingly have to stand alone. We've really got to get more serious about options beyond military to bolster our position in that region.
Right. And it's hard for Syria to say that it's just talk when, they've photographed Chinese warships going through the Suez Canal. I mean, it does, as you're saying, it kind of lends it a little bit more validity. And it's into thinking that if these entities, if these countries are going to do anything, if we are going to have to defend against any sort of action, the thinking would be that they would do something before November. Is that? I mean, what sense do you get from this?
Well, I mean, I think that number one, joint military exercises are signal sending and posturing. So, I mean, I don't think that there is a risk of a military clash. I don't think that we would contemplate, a military intervention to disrupt a joint military exercise. But it really does put front and center a very inconvenient truth, to steal from Al Gore once again, that the president is putting the country on the brink of bankruptcy, risking enormous cuts in our military defenses, leaving our allies increasingly exposed and having to deal with issues on their own. And it really puts to test to the question that President Bush raised 10 years ago. If we don't get serious about addressing these things abroad, they can come to our shores, and it's much more consequential to have to deal with them once here.
Right.
I am inclined more towards that latter view. Admittedly, at a minimum, our country needs to have more of a debate on this, because really, economy is important, and it's a national security priority for us as well. But these other developments, as the great philosophers known as Rush said, if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. If we make a choice not to shape things, we still may reap the consequences and be not happy.
Yeah. And going along with this, the headlines of Israel and the United States, the flame computer virus against Iranian nuclear efforts. Obviously, they're using this, it seems, as like a soft justification for their upcoming exercises.
Right. Well, I mean, it's also another example of, will these people please shut up and just basically do take action. I mean, take, for instance, this Russian shipment that was supposed to aid the Syrians right within the same time as Obama sitting down with Putin. I mean, why can we stop talking about these things and maybe take action on stuff that a KGB head would finally take note of and say, these guys have power and they're really going to take action. I mean, if we can just take real action to roll back some threats and to let bad guys know we're on it and we're willing to do something to them, instead of blabbing all the time, I think the world would be a safer place.
Absolutely. I want to change it up here really quickly before we lose you here, before going to commercial. Fast and furious, the president invoking the executive privilege today to save Eric Holder, and simultaneously, or perhaps inadvertently, showing the whole deck of cards, and that he was much more involved in this than anyone had ever anticipated. When I look at the way that the previous administration dealt with gun walker programs, and I look at how this administration dealt with them, Stephen, it kind of amazes me that the Mexican government isn't more outraged or discernibly at all outraged over this program, considering that they were never notified by the Obama administration that this was taking place. Now, how could that be? I don't understand that.
I don't understand it either. The only calculus that I can even imagine is that they've either worked out something that benefits them politically at home by way of the bilateral relationship with the United States. I can't identify what that would be. Or there's more to the story, and if you roll it back, maybe they knew more. And just like with the White House, there could be some profound consequences when more truth is known about all of this. But the biggest difference, I agree with you and with a lot of other people. This program had problems from the get-go and shouldn't have happened, no matter on whose watch it started.
Right.
But it's under the Obama administration's watch and Eric Holder's tenure that they have given partial truths, mistruths, and constant delays. They have not been fast, and the rest of the country is deservedly furious now, and they need to reap that.
Yes, well, there's so many things happening with all of this. Stephen Yates, we so appreciate you joining us for the second time this week. And you can find Stephen at the DCIadvisory.org, DC International Advisory. Stephen Yates, thank you as always, sir.
Thank you, Dana.
Take care.